Here in the studio now, we have a local author, Erik Therme, with us here. You've got some exciting things coming up. You just came out with a new book.
Correct.
So tell us about your writing style.
So some authors aspire to create big, epic, long, sprawling tales. I prefer short, quick, brisk reads.
Okay.
I often get people say, you know, I sat down and read your book in 2 sittings, which is a great compliment when somebody reads it that often, but I have to acknowledge it's usually because they're short books, and usually they're pretty straightforward, easy to read.
They're about 200
thrillers.
pages. These two right here, these are your 2 most recent. You've
Correct.
written 5
total, yep.
And what I like about it is similar to that. The chapters are short, so you can choose to do a couple, and then you get kind of drawn in, and all of a sudden you're, 100 pages in.
Well, that's the hope, yes, to draw the reader in and keep them reading.
So these are actually like thrillers, I would call them.
Mystery, thriller,
thrillers?
suspense is kind of my genre, and people always ask, why do you choose to write that? And as most authors will say, you don't pick what you write, it just kind of everyone's got a different filter on what catches when they see things or when they experience things, and mine is just kind of gravitates towards the thriller, suspense, macabre. So.
And your daughters actually inspired these 2 most recent books for you.
Yeah, pretty much. So Keep Her Close, in a nutshell, is about a girl named Allie, 3 years old, gets found. She was abandoned on a parking ramp, and she gets found by a couple who adopt her, and nobody knows where she came from. And 15 years later, she gets a letter from one claiming to be her biological father and says she wants to meet. Well, her adoptive parents are obviously skeptical and say, don't do it. Well, of course she does it. Well, I have an 18-year-old daughter who's in college who is very similar to the protagonist in here, Allie. And it was one of those things where I just started thinking, how would I react in this situation if my daughter was missing? What would I do? And it kind of turned into yeah, it really is. And that's where the best writing or fiction comes from your innermost fears. So that was just kind of on that one. And then I Know You is basically centers around a girl named Bree, who's kind of like the matriarch of the family. She lives at home, a strange younger brother, 16-year-old surly younger sister who was kind of based on my daughter. So I drew a lot of that experience. And basically the 16-year-old and Bree get in an argument. She disappears, and then Bree gets a text from an unknown number that says, I have your sister, now I want your brother. So it's one of those where then she has to figure out, well, why did someone take my sister? Why would anyone want the 16-year-old surly girl? And how do I get my brother back? So,
what do your daughters think about being the inspiration behind these kind of thrillers and mysteries and scary things happening to the characters they inspire?
I think they're just kind of used to it. My older daughter, I kind of ruined at an early age by watching a lot of horror and suspense movies, so she kind of gravitates towards that as well. So it's clearly it must be something, just within us.
It's in the blood.
Yeah, and the 16-year-old has not read I Know You, which is not exactly flattering because I drew from a lot of real-life experiences from 16-year-olds.
She's a teenager. Maybe she doesn't want to read.
And absolutely. And, it's one of those things where she, every 16-year-old. I mean, it's not just based on her. It's every 16-year-old.
It's not a slight, Dad.
No, absolutely not. So.
And you are local here. This is where you're from. How does it feel to be able to do something like this and to have people react and have your signing coming up here, and it's in Barnes & Noble now?
Correct. Yeah, it's one of those things where I always like to tell people, I was a 15-year overnight success. I mean, you start writing so many years ago, and just in the last 5 years, things have really come to fruition, and I've been able to publish. But it's great. I really learned there's a huge community of authors, local authors. There's tons of events everywhere, and it's really great to be able to just be a part of that. And I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, and everyone's been hugely supportive, whether it's the readers or other authors.
So tell us about the event coming up here that people can meet you at and talk to you about your books with.
Sure. So it'll be at Newbold Market this Saturday from 10 to 2. It's called the Indie Star Book Festival, and it's basically about 20 authors, multi-genre, a lot of thriller writers, romance writers, and yeah, it's going to be a good time. Just sitting around, people come up, ask us questions. We'll be signing and selling books.
It's going to be a little drizzly that day, so great day to get inside.
Well, exactly, yeah, to stay out. So hopefully it won't keep people away, but yes, get people there, keep them in there, and that's kind of the plan. So.
What's your #1 piece of advice to anyone watching who wants to start writing too?
Don't be afraid to write badly. A horrible first draft is still a first draft. And I think too many people focus too hard on trying to get it perfect the first time. 90% of writing is rewriting. Just get that draft down on paper. It's going to be awful. Even people that have been doing this for a long time and are way more successful than me, first drafts are awful. Just keep rewriting, keep writing, hacking away at it, and then get it to where you want it to be. So.
And then you might eventually have 5 books published as well. So make sure to check out Erik at Newbold for that signing there, that book festival they've got going on there. And then maybe you can stop off and see Hobie Days as well. Great times going on downtown in Cedar Rapids and Newbold area.